in some Buddhist things, they say your whole life is really based on the moment of death. Yeah, that's the whole point of living, is to be prepared for that moment
Uh-huh.
when the body dies. So
Uh-huh.
let's say in your life you've been listening to your head all day, every day. So you notice, like some people, they'll go to work and then around 9 o'clock at night, their mind will tell them they had a bad day. Like
Mm-hmm.
they were there the whole day, but they had, you would imagine they would be aware that it was bad when it was badding, but now the mind, you've had a bad day, and you just go, oh yeah, I've had a bad day, and you call other people. Did you have a bad day? Yeah, I thought so. I had a bad day. So let's say you've been listening to that head, and it's a mental process, yeah? So it takes time. It takes time. So conscious contact is a timeless event, basically. And the interpretation of the conscious contact as I'm the one who's seeing takes time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Conscious contact's timeless.
Mm-hmm.
But the interpretation of that event takes time. So let's say you've been displaced from being aware of the conscious contact, and now you're just aware of the interpretation. So every day you're living, and the mind's telling you what happened, but what it's telling you is about a moment that's already passed, yeah?
Right.
So the moment that you're in right now is being used to interpret the previous moment,
Mm-hmm.
and so on and so forth. So, okay, so now you're living as this interpretation. Then the moment of death occurs, and when that death occurs, the body shuts down. And yet you are waiting for the next moment for your head to tell you what happened. Yeah? So
Yeah.
you're never going to be aware of your own death in selfing. The only one who's going to know you died is somebody else.
Hmm.
Yeah? You're never going to know you died because you're on a time lag. The idea of you
I see.
is
So
it's a
you're always interpreting retroactively, and you're not going to
exact
be in a position to interpret after you've died.
exactly exactly. And so when you have a big traumatic event, it just startles the whole system. So there's no interpretation of that event for a period of time. Then
Mm.
it comes back. Yeah,
Kind of shuts off the interpreter.
shuts it off. Yet something continues.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. So there I am, and then that moment of death is like my friend says that no one, I'm never going to experience my own death. My death is only experienced by others. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Because with that time lag, that moment's going to pass, and no, there's not going to be a voiceover. There's no you. There's no you that's going to stand over your dead body and go, oh, you're dead now. There isn't a you. It's like a voice box of the apparatus, yeah, the narrator.
And so the practical implication of what you're saying now is what? How do we get onto this track here?
No, just see that's the case. If you see the activity that's presenting a you, then there's a sense you're not that. That's what you are, is the
Mm.
seeing of what you're not, in my experience.
Mm-hmm.
My daily experience is I am the seeing of what I'm not. Yeah, that's what I am. That seeing is what I am. The seeing of what I'm not is what I am, because all I can see here is what I'm not. Yeah.
Hmm.
So,
Do you ever have some people talk of an evolution of one's, consciousness or development or whatever, to the point where when you see the world, you actually don't see it as what you're not. It sort of, you enter a unitive phase where you begin to see everything in terms of the self, not the individual self, but the sort of like the universal self. You begin to see the universal essence, which you already have known yourself to be. Again, pardon the terminology, that begins to expand out and encompass the whole environment as well. Do you have any flavor of that in your own life?
I don't see you can see your essence. Your
Not
essence
as
is
an object, not as
seeable.
an object, but there's a sort of
An
uh,
intimation?
an intimation or an intuition or a knowing of
Yeah.
of the essential nature of the object as being the same as the essential nature of oneself. What one has known oneself to be since
Oh, a
awakening.
sense of emptiness. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
that's
yeah.
not how my apparatus sees things as things. But there's a sense of what, I don't know if you want to use emptiness. I don't even, that's a concept. But there's a sense of I don't know what that
As,
goes
as
on.
if the emptiness kind of permeates everything. It's not just some abstract
I don't even want to
subjective.
go there with that emptiness because that's a
Okay.
word, yeah? I don't
Yeah.
know what's going on. Let's put it that way. But
Well,
I
that's
don't have any interest in knowing what's going on. I
uh-huh.
really don't. I
Well,
want to.
you
I have
do
an
and you
interest.
don't. I mean,
No, I have an
you
interest
devote
in
your
what's not
life to.
going on. See?
Okay.
I have a great interest in what's not going on, but I have absolutely no interest in what's going on.
Huh.
Because what's not, when I know what's not going on, that's what's going on.
Yeah.
That's how it works for me. I'm sorry to say it that way, but that's
Well,
how
what I'm suggesting is that the what's not going on is also it
Oh,
also
yeah, yeah.
is the inherent nature of everything that appears to be going on, such that with that perspective, nothing ever happened, even
That's right.
on an objective level,
That's right. Yes.
and
That's a
that
strong sense. Nothing ever.
yeah, it is. It's a sense. It's not like a sort of, and it's not like you don't see cars driving down the street and birds flying around, but there's a sort of a but that is all sort of permeated with a sense that on even though that's happening at the same time it's not happening. There's a kind of a
Yeah. Yeah.
paradox there.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
That's just like demonstrations of traveling lighter. Yeah.
Hmm.
You get demonstrations of it. To me, it's an intimation. You can't put a finger on it, and then there's no desire to put a finger on it. There's just it's just that me going like this. That's the best I can do about it. Really, there's just
Yeah.
you can. It's sort of like a calling. You almost hear it and you sense it, and everything. But it's yeah, that's where it goes. That's its level of appearance is non-appearance in a way.
Right.
It's nice. I like it.
I'm glad you brought up the Course in Miracles thing, because it reminded me that when I mentioned that you were going to be on this show, someone said, "Oh, I hope he talks a little bit about his Course in Miracles thing." I mean, is there anything more that's worth saying about that in terms
Oh,
of your?
I love the Course in Miracles. I
Hmm.
mean, as it was one of the in the action figure story, it was a uh, radical fun.
Good.
I mean,
I,
I just laughed more. I laughed like a lot
and,
when people were reading the course with me, or I was at certain events. It was just a giant laugh fest because
huh.
it's just hilarious. It was just hilarious, the relief of seeing the structure of what I'm not. It was incredible. The structure is a moving structure. You see, it's not like you moved into a house called what you're not. It's a verb. It's an activity. So, but to have it so clearly drawn as if it appeared to be a stagnant structure you could look at and
Hmm.
sort of understand, that's an incredible act here. And that act was performed through the Course in Miracles in the, yeah.
So you're saying that the Course in Miracles does that? It sort of builds a static edifice of, that which is not,
No, no,
or.
it produces, let's say, the selfing,
Hmm.
which is a verb. It structures it so clearly and cleanly it can appear to be a noun to you so that you can study it. Yes?
Ah,
It's difficult to study a verb, but
right.
that's what for me the course was personally
Hmm.
or impersonally. It took what was an activity called selfing and it drew it very clearly and laid it there for me to look at whenever I wanted to. In other
Okay.
words, it wasn't like I had to go out into the fields and see if the birds flew by and landed to watch bird watching. It was like, hey, this is it. This is the structure of this. This is how this place is produced. This is what mind is doing. This is what the lessons do. They'll change your perceptions. And
Hmm.
in that shift of perceptions, you realize the perceptions you had were fucking structured. They're artificial. They're not organic. They're contrived. They're a structured system. And I would say that system is self-centeredness. It's like putting on a helmet. And so they describe the contours of the helmet, how it's like to live in the helmet, and what it's like if you take the helmet off. Yeah, I liked it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Good. Good.
yeah, yeah.
Is there any? I know you're a little bit pressed for time because you have to go and do a lecture, so we'll wrap it up in a couple minutes. But is there anything else that you feel like is, really worth mentioning that we haven't touched upon here? Either in terms of various things you've been through, or things you like to say to people that we haven't really said, or do you feel like we've pretty well covered it here for now? You're at a loss for words. I've never seen you at a loss for words.
No, well, the point is, it's an invitation. So the invitation is really based on uh, on the other end of it. What's receiving the invitation? So I'm sure this will do its thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I sense it. Yeah, we could go on and on. There's a lot to delve into, But it's all about, for me, describing what I'm not, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And with the sense of if I share that with others, they may see what was being taken to be them as what they're not. And it sort of translates as a traveling lighter, which is, if this place is a translation, which is, and it's dualistically contrived, so there's either you're traveling heavy or you're traveling light, and then there's tons of degrees in between. If you had a preference, I would rather travel light, yeah? And
Yeah.
so what I found is like the the thing that's causing it to seem so heavy is what wants it to be light, yeah?
Hmm.
If you can just give up that, then it tends to get exactly what it wanted by not being there.
Huh.
Yeah?
It's interesting. You keep talking about that which is not and that which I'm not. It's the word Maya actually means that which is not. It means which not.
Oh, yeah?
And yeah, so it's kind of cool because I mean that's kind of like the essence of what you've been saying. And this whole the word Maya, which is usually translated as illusion, really means that it's not what it appears to be.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like it that way. It works that way.
Yeah.